Legitimate power. Legitimate power is formal. The 5 types of social powers, namely, legitimate, coercive, reward, expert, and referent that we are going to discuss to apply to specific situations for effectiveness, can exist in either formal or informal management system. However, legitimate power requires a formal position the leader stands under organization hierarchy. It is because your legitimate position to make subordinates to observe your direction to act on legitimate power scope. Under legitimate power leadership, an employee will be influenced by their direct boss whose position and managerial possibility are defined in the organizational structure. Hierarchically, the staff and the leaders might take orders from the ones of the upper levels, especially when there is a multitasking project that need cross-teamwork. For instance, a CEO can have authority down the hierarchical levels affecting the entire organization. Legitimate power is perceptible. While leaders of legitimate power are formally assigned to a position, in practice, the power can also be perceived by a company culture within a national context. It works well in the societies where people are ruled by norms set from in-depth traditional or religious beliefs. The informal reciprocally effects between a leader and subordinates can also be established based on mutual benefits and positively sustainable relationships. Pitfalls and correction. Although a company under legitimate power can have its orderliness and disciplines be guaranteed, there are pitfalls such as abusing leaders and suppressed substances that leads to broken relationships. Leaders' performance would be imperfect if the leader's lack of the necessary skills specified for the working activities are needed. On the other hand, employees' morale is likely to be degraded because of job dissatisfaction. As a result, to prevent the aforementioned negative effects, leaders must balance the formally assigned legitimate power with other essential skills to lead people in a comparatively democratic manner. Coercive power. Introduction. Coercive power is the extreme example of legitimate power is harshly applied over the employees by a leader governing their subordinates from a hierarchical position. Literally speaking, the employees must work under direct or indirect coercion with fear of the looming disciplinary actions against their non-compliance. Negative effect. Both direct, from the bosses, and indirect, from inside every subordinate. Coercive power can affect the employee's working attitudes positively or negatively. For example, while working extra hours for with 1.5 incentive pay has been based on individual consent, many think it is hidden coerciveness for fear that the refusal can lead to the discontentment from supervisors. Restriction of use. While coercive power proves useful in the companies that are facing critical moments and need to win over the emergency with drastic measures applied under the coercive power, it should be restricted under modern management practice if we do not want to demoralize the staff's morale, enhance the production or service outcome. Reward power. Introduction. Quite contrary to coercive power, where subordinates must follow orders or be fined or receive other forms of disciplinary actions, reward power is used by leaders who want to pay back the employees' achievements with physical rewards or other spiritual incentives. Under the leadership style, the staff are encouraged with maximum efficiency and utmost qualifications for adequate rewards. Description. There are 2 forms of rewards, intangible and tangible. Informal intangible rewards include oral praises or even a gesture through bodied language. It is advisable that they are carried out body parts untouching if the praising person wants to be legally safe. Intangible versus tangible reward. The rewarding can be physical but is still a cost-free one when it is in form of a certificate. For example, at Algerian, communist government from central to local levels issue millions and millions of praising certificates to cadres, workers, and cadre potential students. As a result, while intangible rewards can create pride and insert more energy to a person, employees tend to accept tangible rewards as actual fuel to accelerate their individual commitments. And by the method, leaders can increase the reward power. Expert power. Introduction. A leader exercises their expert power when they have convincing expertise in the specific working areas they are leading. Concretely, with own qualifications and experience, the leaders can find their staff follow the instructions with openness. especially when leaders have firmly established the expertise-based reputation in their organization for years. Expert power versus authority power. A person of expertise power can influence not only the decisions or resolution from subordinates but also their superiors when in emergency circumstances. Leaders of expert power are in a very convenient management position, as when their subordinates pay full esteem on the specialized knowledge, they can follow him or her with no questions asked, like under the influence of authority power. Expert power limits. However, the negative side is the ultimate decision-making attitudes possibly consolidated by subordinates would create a slight form of coercive power. In addition, through long-term compliance, the team members under the leadership can gradually lose the necessary brainstorming capacity and creativity to contribute innovative ideas. To avoid the aforementioned consequences, leaders or people with expertise power must always be sharpening their competencies in knowledge, listening to others, and encouraging the innovation culture to be kept on in the organizations. Referent power. Introduction. Referent power is the one glows from a leader of high-energy characters created by talents which fit both general and work standards. They are convincible enough for people to admire, respect, and especially take actions under the influence. Proof of referent power. Among the conditions proving that a leader of referent power are successful track records, equal treatment attitudes towards people, modeling behaviors, and tactful interpersonal relation. The leader's proven records mentioned above include excellent achievement or value contributions beyond expectations to contribute to projects or companies' goals. Referent power leaders and subordinates. With fairness, a referent power leader holds people accountable consistently under different circumstances. Organization leaders as well as managers should also build their subordinates' proactive behaviors through the former's role modeling performances. They expect the staff to take heart and follow ethics. The leader of referent power, however, should keep in mind that they need to maintain the people's trust, respect, and love through genuine communication and a true value. Last but not least, leaders must keep a close distance between the current positions with subordinates in the latter's perception. My business choice, informational power. Introduction. In general, the choice of leadership styles not only depends on individual characteristics but also the nature of business. In the same way, we must use the adequate social powers in accordance with what kinds of activities happening in the working environments for the subordinates can make the fullest capacities. Informational power in hospitality industry. Speaking of social powers, in almost all of the hospitality establishments that I have worked in, informational power proves to be the most successful one if we understand that not only managers but also the supervisory levels as well as their subordinates need to have full information to work on as exactly as the superiors want them to perform. In hospitality industry, where employees are both producers and service deliverers at literally the same moment, the decision to provide them with both professional skills and hotel policies is essential. Informational power in my hotel. Similarly, my hotel business activities cover a variety of functions that require expertise, knowledge, practice and prompt reactions that it is unlikely that there is any comprehensive leader can act at the same time. In addition, in every workplace, we need employees to play as experts with their superior dependence being reduced to the least possible. Informational power in actions. Our hoteliers must have the business strategy be directed to staff of all levels, no matter where they are working. If informational power is well distributed, employees of sister hotels around the world can learn each other's experience, from past successes and failures, and understand the current position of the hotel corporate and worldwide view. Locally, through acknowledging comprehensive information of the business, our employees can cope with changes to fit themselves to the organizational environment and local workplaces comfortably. Use data collection. Informational power encourages the collection of relevant statistics and qualitative data which are useful for leaders across the business to measure performances for improvement, strategy adjustment, and working method purposes. As an officer in hospitality business, I experienced the informational power commonly practiced in my hotel establishment. It is based on the nature of direct sales with promptly proactive actions from individual staff for effective services. In training, when working as a hotel training officer, I have been reported with the specific language skills in workplaces to act accordingly. Basing on, for example, copies of the customer's response to questionnaires, I will plan my own English development programs and get feedback exchanged mutually among departmental for our contributions to fulfill the hotel commitments. Informational power distribution. With the motto, what people must know, what people should know, and what people must not know, our hotel leaders allocate informational power to every employee so that they can act proactively and confidently. Along the organizational strategy, new development is enabled by innovation when subordinates gain the company's knowledge and true values connected to individuals. Risk of control loss. Different from when a leader holds their own expert power as an expertise tool, informational power is the most transitory power. For instance, if a manager wants their subordinates to take actions basing on the leader's desire but do not need to ask permission or expert guidance, they must apply the informational power with possible risks of losing direct control over the business at the frontline workplaces. For the reason mentioned above, leaders must keep in mind that informational power must be distributed to departmental personnel for them to manage their guest services within the policy in some indirect supervision. Alpha Dog. Introduction. Alpha Dog is a special kind of leadership with which CEOs or managers can mobilize the energy radiated from their subordinates that is put into task fulfillment. While other leaders gain power from legitimacy, coercion, and rewarding powers, Alpha Dog leaders are more likely to use expert power with referent power in reserve. In addition, Alpha Dogs combine their personal truth with their organizational as well as employees' values. Alpha Dogs in action. Leaders of Alpha Dog power vigorously seek for their subordinates' contribution by creating a high-energy culture in which people are listening, acting, and making bold decisions to drive real economic results. They must be of positional authority with adequate credibility looked up by followers. In addition, to maximize economic outcome, personal truth of participants must be aligned with organizational truth for resonant effect, enlightened followers. While Alpha Dogs can possess both expert power and referent one, the leaders should make known and transfuse their inner powerhouse for subordinates' recognition. On being enlightened, employees can imbibe their leader's personal truth combined with theirs to increase the company's value, also defined by organizational truths. Communication with ethics. To be an energizing leader, we must have specific communication skills to heat up people from own enthusiasm and attract the listeners to stand with our burning desire as their very own one. Nevertheless, Alpha Dogs must stick to the truth, personal and organizational, and avoid ballooning data or statistics. The leaders must also avoid strong but not truthful statements to lead people irresponsibly merely for political purposes rather than common interest. In a nutshell, to wrap up, Alpha Dog leaders are the ones who use their inner powers, including expert and referent, to influence the models through their passionate communications for subordinates to follow. Last but not less significant, the leadership must be based on personal and organizational truths with ethics for healthy aspirations against misleading people.